Welcome to Extracurricular. I'm Eddie Geller, your co-host.
And I'm Stephanie Vanos, your other co-host.
You know what I'm going to say, and I feel like you're just trying to tease it out of me.
Here I am, unofficially. I am also a school board member for Orange County Public Schools.
You know what? We should probably record this over, but I refuse.
Yeah.
Because that was beautiful, just the way it was. We have a really exciting show today, really exciting interview. Who did we interview today? Well, we didn't interview them today, but who's on the podcast today?
Yes, this weekend we interviewed Representative Dr. Anna Eskamani, and we had a blast. It was a fun interview. It was a fun conversation.
We had a really wonderful time. Do you think it was offensive that I asked her to look at my rash and then she said, I'm not that kind of doctor? Do you think she was offended by that?
Honestly, I feel a little weird right now. Maybe we should restart this conversation.
What's making you feel weird?
Rashes are just, ew. No.
No, I think a rash can be innocuous. Like if it's on your arm, you have like a little red spot. You don't think? Okay, you look upset right now.
I don't think she's that kind of doctor.
Okay, before we get into the show, hopefully we got some listeners who are excited to hear Representative Eskamani. If you're new to the show, please consider subscribing, rating us on iTunes or wherever you can rate a podcast. 5 stars, 10 stars, 100 stars. I don't know. However many stars you can rate us, let's hit that number of stars.
And if you don't have good things to say, feel free to not rate us.
Yes, you can pass along rating us and find something else productive to do with your day.
Exactly.
I'm upset that you don't like us, but you know what? Not everyone can like you. Unless it's Stephanie Vanos, everyone likes you.
Untrue. But let's go back to our conversation with Anna. It was really good. I feel like we hit some topics that, maybe other people haven't heard before, which was fun.
I loved it. We did talk about what you might expect. We talked about some legislative stuff. We did touch on education, but really a little behind the scenes of what it's like to be Dr. Representative Anna V. Eskamani, how she unwinds and how she thinks about just like her off time, which I thought was so interesting.
Oh, I loved it. And now we're doing an exercise class together this week.
You are doing. How do you feel about this? You love running, but people will hear in the interview what kind of exercise you're going to do. But how are you feeling about this?
Well, I'll just give a little preview. It involves electrodes. So I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I'm going to find out. And I appreciate the invitation to check it out. So I'm excited. Support a local business and try something new.
I can't wait to hear about it, about how it goes. It sounds a little intimidating, and I'm frankly glad she did not invite me. So
well, she roasted you a little bit on the on during this conversation. How do you feel about that? You
know what? As a comedian, I respect a good roast, and frankly, I'm honored to have been roasted a little bit by Representative Eskamani. She was very funny and very good natured, and we had a good time. But you two have been friends for a while now, and so I was excited to hear you two kind of bond and catch up a little bit. And so it was just funny to kind of not quite be an interloper in that conversation. I mean, I'm a co-host on this podcast, so I'm told.
You are it. You are.
Thank you for that reassurance. But it was just a really fun interview. She's got a great sense of humor. She's really funny. And I wonder if people get to see that as much about her. But yeah, she was great.
Yeah, I do think we got a little behind the scenes look at Anna the personality too. So it was great. Do you have anything you want to add?
Well, there's one other thing I want to bring up. We now have an email address that people can reach out to us. They can give us feedback, positive only, because I'm fragile. It might be related to the rash. I don't know. But we have an email, podcastextracurricular@gmail.com. That's podcastextra. What can I talk? podcastextracurricular@gmail.com. And I know what people are thinking. Why would you do it the opposite way? And let me tell you, folks, in the year of our Lord 2025, it is hard to get any sort of email address if you don't add a slew of numbers on the back of it because, everyone's taken every email address. So extracurricular podcast taken, extracurricular pod taken. I didn't get much more creative than that, but then I did the opposite and we were good. So podcastextracurricular@gmail.com.
Praise be.
Praise be. What are you going to email the podcast about?
I'm not sending any emails. I am in the phase of let's streamline emails. If it could be a quick call, make that email a call. Even if it could be a coffee, let's make it a coffee. Let's cut down on the number of emails is kind of where I'm at in my life right now. But y'all feel free to email Eddie. He'll enjoy it.
Now, like the phrase "this podcast could have been an email" just went through my head, and so maybe this podcast is just going to morph into a newsletter where we just tell people about the conversation and the bits we did, and it just hits their inbox, and they don't have to listen to a 45-minute to 1 hour conversation.
Are we like doging podcasts?
Oh God, I hope not. But I feel like. I hope people like spending time with us. If they're listening to this right now, hopefully they enjoy, our dynamic and enjoy your intelligent observations and my whimsical additions to the conversation.
And intelligent observations.
Oh, thank you.
We are a great combo. I'm giggling because when you edit the podcast, yesterday he was pointing out all of my little and so I'm told I need to talk more directly, or I need to make sounds more directly into the mic.
Okay, it sounds like I'm worried. I need to explain this a little bit because I'm worried people are thinking I'm like pulling you aside after the podcast and giving you notes, like I'm the coach after the game. No,
well, I mean it's a slide. It's fine.
No,
there's lasers.
I'm just saying. I think it's important to be engaged in the conversation, right? And I think. So all I was saying is, because I do it a lot, I'm like, great point, is, just make sure it's audible. Like, that's all I'm saying is just if you're going to make noises, like, so I can see whatever. People are so bored listening to this.
Okay, so let's move on. I'm just saying it was a fun track. Yeah, totally. But quieter. Okay. One other thing we do want to mention, because it was really great, I'm going to throw to you for this. Yes, yesterday morning, Maxwell Frost, Congressman Frost, had a State of the District at Boone High School. And he just sort of shared what happened last session, what happened this session, and what we have to, look forward to in the upcoming years. We talked a little bit about the big bad ugly bill and a few other things, and really how some of these cuts are going to impact Central Florida. But what I really appreciated, as I always do, is just his engagement in the community. It is above and beyond. It is stellar. He is always out in front of people. He is always connecting. He is always trying to make this rather confusing process, I think, to most people, understandable and explain what's happening. And I think people really appreciate that. He's
great, and so proud to have him as now my representative, now that I live here in the 10th district. And also a listener of the podcast, we have found out. So that's always gratifying. Do you think he's rating 5 stars?
I hope so.
No, he's fabulous. So with all that said, I think it's time we throw to our interview with Representative Dr. Anna V. Eskamani. Just a really great chat, and I hope y'all enjoy it.
Let's do it. So I am so excited. Here on the podcast today, we have Representative Dr. Anna Eskamani. So happy to have you here today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be in your company.
Oh, I have such great memories of just meeting you for the first time. I remember back before you even ran for office. You've been a representative in the Florida House now for how many years?
Oh my gosh, 7. Going on my
years.
last year at 8 next year.
Crazy.
I know, it's been wild.
I've shared the story with you before, but the Orlando Sentinel used to have this like Council of 100 or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. And people used to write in every Sunday, and but they would have a variety of people, but there would be one person who would be almost every week would have something in there, and that was you.
Something to say.
And I remember, and I'd be like, oh, it's Anna Eskamani. Who is this person? She's from Planned Parenthood, and I always agree with what she writes about in here.
I love that.
And then walking around my neighborhood, I started to see signs, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same person who I read about in the paper. Who is this? And then I remember hearing about an event that you were hosting at at Ember Bar
At
downtown.
Ember.
I
And you
still
brought your
remember.
girls there?
Brought my girls. I'm pretty sure they were, I don't know, like 5, 7, and 9. We're just
the
walking
bar.
into the bar, and they were definitely the only children there. But I don't know, it just sticks in my brain, and
I remember shaking their hands too, and it was just such a sweet moment. And you and your family have been a part of our campaigns and part of our work from the beginning. And I take a lot of credit for encouraging you to run for school board. And I'm so grateful that you're there because you're doing an amazing job and like you know your stuff, but you also have the personal experience of being a mom and being a public school kid yourself. And I think that's just, we need more of that type of representation in our school board. And so I'm so grateful that we connected, that we're friends and besties, but also that I get to see you grow in your leadership. It's just really awesome to see.
well, I feel the same about you, and I'm so thankful that you really helped me use my voice, and I know you do that for so many other people. So
Thank you.
I feel so lucky.
Thank you. And why is Eddie here again?
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for
know,
some sort
I
of
know.
comment. No, please. I'm just enjoying you two bask in each other's friendship. I mean, female friendships. We love it.
Yeah, I need more of it for sure these days. My goodness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah. So here we are, I guess. Okay, so we're here, end of session, finally.
Finally. Oh my God. Yes. Like more than a month later.
How are you holding up?
It's been a roller coaster for sure. You know, a part of it is I don't think a lot of folks realize that being in the legislature is a part-time job. So many of us also have day jobs on top of this. And as you can imagine, it's very hard to coordinate with all the responsibilities that you have, whether it's your day job commitments, constituent services, advocacy meetings, tours with local nonprofits or agencies. And so it was pretty hectic, just not kind of knowing, you know, when you be home, what you can and can't do. And also just following this budget process, which was more controversial than ever in the sense that you have the House and the Senate billions of dollars apart. You have the attacks on AP, IB, these educational acceleration programs, alongside all the other priorities that your district wants you to focus on. So definitely exhausting in the sense of wanting to make sure that this process was accessible and transparent, but also realizing that it's highly unlikely in the Florida legislature, right? And I'm really happy that we have a budget and that at least this chapter can close. But there were definitely a lot of losses along the way and wins too. But I do think that this was a session of missed opportunities for the people of Florida, especially on affordability issues, but definitely with different elements of the budget.
Well, I have two threads from there. First is, do you feel that this last month, kind of going through this budget process, do you feel that it was transparent?
No, definitely not. I mean, and we actually hosted a virtual, we had 2 back-to-back town halls specific to the budget. You know, one was a virtual review of the state budget process, how it works, how it doesn't work. And then that same day, we had a town hall with Congressman Maxwell Frost and Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith at the Firefighters Union Hall, talking about the state and federal budget overall. And I really try hard to unpack this process for the legislature because it is complicated. I mean, you have a bill, but it doesn't really operate like a bill. You have conferencing, like what is that, right? But then when it actually happens, you know, it's like a 5-minute conference meeting. I mean, all these decisions are made behind closed doors. And it's kind of like just the you know, performance, if you will, of transparency. And then the chairs will ask, is there any public commentary? And like no one says anything because they're scared to, honestly. Like it's just such a fast-paced and sometimes punitive process. In fact, kudos to a teacher. It was actually a teacher that testified during one of the education conference meetings, sharing their perspectives on the budget. And I was like, yes, you know,
that's amazing.
But the other part of it too is that there's only a 1-hour notice for a conference meeting. So let's just say you are someone who, even if you live in Tallahassee, you're operating a 1-hour notice. So you don't even know when to go to Tallahassee to testify on this process or to talk to lawmakers.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something we talked about because there were a lot of people here, parents, students who came to me and came to you, I'm sure, wanting to participate, wanting to testify. I mean, they'd sent the emails, they'd made the calls, they'd done all that.
Right.
But then during this process, they wanted to testify. But the reality was, it was almost impossible unless you were willing to drive to Tallahassee, camp out for a day or two and wait around and then be ready to go. I mean, that's just not realistic in most people's lives. And it's just really, just doesn't seem
100%.
right.
And even the very last conference meetings. So at one point, everything gets bumped. I'm using air quotes, bumped, which basically means that line items in the budget that the silo chairs couldn't agree on gets bumped to the two big chairs of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the respective chambers. And all of that is behind closed doors. I mean, they're just having closed doors conversations on different line items, on the FEFP and all these dynamics. And it's not till it gets posted and released, you have any opportunity to say something on it. And it's kind of too late at that point, right? I mean, the final budget hit everyone's emails like Friday night, basically. And once it hits your email, it's done. It's a done deal. The cooling off period begins. So it's not even just the budget bills itself. It's also the conforming bills. And actually, any conference bill, you're not even allowed to file amendments. You're not allowed to. The rules don't allow it. So we had all these conference bills, the implementing bills that came for the first time over the weekend for debate and passage on Monday. And it included the Schools of Hope, which is huge privatization effort, which I definitely want to talk more about with you. And Eddie. And
thank you. I might just silently
he's still
sneak
here,
off.
folks. He's still here, folks. I just want you to know that Eddie is still here. And then also like crazy Doge stuff was added last minute. But anyways, I will step back to talk more. But
I guess. Okay, sorry, Eddie. I'm just gonna.
You don't need to keep apologizing to me. It's okay. White men have had their time. I can be quiet on a podcast.
No, you still have value coming around. We need you. We need more white men. To anyone in the manosphere, this podcast is also for you. So
I completely agree.
Tune in.
Yes, absolutely.
Were you okay? So I think I know the answer to this question. Were you a part of these behind the doors closed sessions?
No, I mean, like you try to insert yourself as much as you can, right? I mean, part of it is because it's your job as elected official. You got to be present, and so like I'm calling the chairs, I am talking to the vice chairs, I'm actively engaged in the process as much as I can. When I'm in, I stayed in conferencing as long as I could with my schedule. But ultimately, like I said, I also don't have the capacity to sit around Tallahassee and wait. Like I don't. And so you try to leverage other connections and access points. And a part of it really is calling those chairs, calling those vice chairs, pushing on the issues that are important to your district. And one of which was, of course, protecting these AB, IB dual enrollment programs, which we were successful in doing. And that was in large part, as you mentioned, to the community building opposition to it. I was actually at the conference meeting where Chairperson Malika finally admitted that they were defunding these programs, because on the House floor, she said they weren't. No. And then I get all these calls from families that are like, I thought you said they were. And I'm like, they are, and then she finally admitted that they were, which was very affirming in the sense of like, okay, like I'm not being gaslit anymore. Like now I know this was true. And so, following that, maintaining dialogue and conversation with my Republican colleagues on the budget, but ultimately, for example, the tax package. So I'm the ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee, which means I'm the top Democrat in that committee. So I was in constant communication with the chair on the final tax package. I mean, we probably spoke to him every day about it, but it wasn't until like 5:40 p.m. on Friday that I get a text from him saying that the TDT reform, which is the tourism development tax that we were working on all session, was getting pulled. Up until that point, I was told that it was in the tax package. It looks good. Both chambers supported it. And then unfortunately, a last minute call was made by the Senate that removed this proposal. And so I had no opportunity to push back against that, right? Which again is the process. I mean, they wanted to land this budget as soon as they could. It was already Friday. So I don't, by no means am I trying to, sound negative in regard to my chairman, but I mean, it's the reality of the process is, as a member of the minority caucus, you don't get that type of notice or access or exposure. You have to fight for it. Yeah. And it's never a default. You really have to fight for it. And that's exactly how we lead. And I am proud to say that, we brought back more than $2 million in local projects for the district. That was working across the aisle to make that happen, including money for the Pulse Memorial here, about $400,000 that was returned to the state of Florida from the One Pulse Foundation after they went insolvent and defunct. We brought back to Orlando for the Pulse Memorial that the city will build. And that only could happen because we worked across the aisle to talk to our colleagues in the majority party. So I take pride in our ability to do that. But yeah, the process itself really, really needs to be more transparent for community engagement.
I hesitate to feel like there's a silver lining because I think people should know that it is really bad. But it does seem like even in the minority party, through the work you've done, through your relationships, that there is work you can get done. There is obviously there's funding you can bring home. Like that does still happen on some level.
Absolutely. And and thank you, Eddie, for your contributions to the conversation. But
You're doing a great job.
You know what? I edit these podcasts, so I'm actually going to I'm going to just compress this into 3-minute chunks, and I'm going to start this pod with a 10-minute monologue.
Wow.
Oh no,
Unsubscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. No, you are right. You are totally right in the sense. First of all, important to stress that we stopped a lot of bad bills from passing, right? I mean, oftentimes we forget to celebrate our victories in the sense of the bills that we stopped. And that includes legislation to further ban more books.
1539, right?
Exactly. We stopped that from passing. And by the way, that bill was filed like the same day that one of the court fights like went in our direction. I mean, it's just it's so clearly what they're doing, right? Like every time they lose a court battle, they just tried to rewrite the laws so they can do it again. I mean, It's so frustrating.
And then every time they lose a battle in the legislature, the Board of Education tries to get around it.
100%. And so with that said, we won that fight in legislature. We also stopped more attacks on the LGBTQ plus community. There was legislation to define civil rights, the same civil rights for fetuses and embryos as real human children. We stopped that from passing this year. And new efforts to bust public unions, we stopped. Child labor, we stopped. And so there were a lot of really great wins for us to be able to mark and celebrate. And of course, on the positive side of successes, there were many, many Democratic bills that passed. I mean, I passed a bill off the House floor. The Senate unfortunately stalled it, so we're going to try again next year. I had a bipartisan bill on elopement prevention that got through its committees as well for our children with ASD or IDD who are at risk of elopement. Senator Smith passed his anaphylaxis bill as well, which was a local issue, came from a local mom in Central Florida. And then we had some really great policies on mental health that moved forward. So it's unfortunately the issues that tend to come to your attention are the more negative fights. Right. But even on state parks, there was a bipartisan bill to protect state parks, House Bill 209. This was born out of the whistleblower from last summer that helped share the world on news by the Sands administration to build pickleball courts and hotels over state parks. And so, yes, there's always positive reporting back from Tallahassee. But I think sometimes the challenge is that the losses like really outweigh the wins. Sure. So that's why they get more attention.
But I thank you so much for everything you're doing up there. And you're right. I think sometimes people think that bipartisanship just doesn't happen anymore. And there are bills that have bipartisan support that pass. Again, it's just they don't, like you said, they don't get the same attention. So
yeah, for sure. And my speaker and I have a really great relationship. I feel we are the same class, and I do not take that for granted. We're going to disagree and vote on opposite sides a lot, but I do think it's important to lead with grit and grace in these environments. And people are not going to evolve in their viewpoints if you treat them like garbage. Like it is literally that simple. And I'm often asked all the time, how do you talk to people that disagree with you? And this is a question I get from folks of every generation. I was talking to a group of PhD psychology students, and one of them asked me this question earlier this week. And I do think a part of it is leading with wonder, asking questions versus making statements to learn more about where this person's viewpoints are coming from. And also being open to the fact that it takes time for people to evolve. So I'm not going to change your mind in one conversation, but if we continue, then maybe I can. And also, of course, deciding when it is appropriate to call someone out. But you should always start with calling them in. And those are the lessons that I've learned the hard way, growing up as an advocate. But I do think that there's so many good opportunities for being persuasive, for also changing culture in your efforts. And in the long run, you will be much more effective as an advocate in that way. And you will save lives in that way. I mean, I was listening to an interview with Congresswoman Sarah McBride.
Ezra Klein.
Yes, you heard the same interview. She
Yep.
made all these points. And it it was very affirming for me because like I try to practice that. And sometimes you get criticized for it because people think that you're not being aggressive enough I don't know if anyone would say that about me because like, I can still get pretty aggressive on my values. But I never think it's smart to make like broad-based statements. I don't think it's smart to cancel people. I don't think it's smart to also ignore like just basic message discipline.
Sure.
Right? Like if you know this approach is more effective, do it, use it, and listen to the leaders who are the experts in that space, right? Like if Equality Florida is encouraging us to frame an argument in this way, that is how we should frame the argument, right?
Right.
If you have a counter, talk about it behind the scenes and polish it up and figure it out. But, also lean on these groups that have been doing this work for a long time that have a great track record of success. And so I also try to teach that to others too.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a great point. And I think one point they made too in that podcast was just about like kind of like the Overton window, right? Like you have to like keep your messaging within that window, because if you get too far outside of it, there's just no way. And really what we want is long-term change, long-term acceptance and sustainability. And kind of, you just have to be aware of that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And it's frustrating too, because I do feel like sometimes it's well-meaning people that are the ones not following best practices, right? I mean, they're driven by their values, and they want to protect impacted communities, and it's incredibly noble and authentic, but unfortunately, it just comes with consequences. That if you're not allowing for impacted people to lead the conversation, if you're not listening to the experts, when it comes to advocacy, then you may be doing more harm than good, even if you don't realize that.
So just getting back to some of the education stuff.
Let's get to
it. So Scott Maxwell just wrote a piece about the AP IB Advanced Studies funding and how this was really just a kind of rare example of people using their voices and speaking out. And, I know that lawmakers were so busy, and I know other elected leaders were so busy, like city commissions voted, in favor of keeping this funding. But I do think that people played a really big part, people making calls and emails. So just wanted to kind of throw that to you and tell me kind of what you think about that.
100% agree. I mean, I mentioned this earlier, but how in the very beginning, the Republican caucus refused to admit that they were defunding these programs, gaslit us, tried to reframe the debate. I was getting forwarded emails from parents that were responses from their offices that were dismissing the concerns from the county. And if it wasn't for the thousands of phone calls and emails from parents and students and teachers, I mean, it really was an incredible multi-generational effort too, from alumni who benefited from these programs, myself included. I do not think we would have got the result that we wanted, where these classes are not being defunded, are maintained at current levels.
And I think it's, one thing I think that helped us in this was that we had a really clear message. It was a clear message that people understood and they could repeat in their own words. Sometimes when we talk about funding, we have to go down the rabbit hole of the FEFP and the BSA and this and add-on funding. But I feel like, there was just a message crafted that was just easy. And I think that just bears keeping that in mind, when we're trying to engage people in the future. It's just how important having a clear message is, and one that sort of, in order to respond to it, you have to kind of get into gobbledygook about, add-on, and we're not really, and well, what about this? And we'll transfer the money and the shell game and all that.
Totally. Yes. Back to being message discipline, and also the personal stories. I mean, I just think it's so powerful to have students and parents share the value of these programs, how they prepare kids for college, especially dual enrollment. I mean, it's such a big deal when you have high school seniors graduating with AAs, and the money that saves our families, the economic argument to make. So, thinking about who your audience is and how do you persuade them is key.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one thing you mentioned about the budget was kind of how some things got slid in at the end.
Oh God, yeah.
And one thing that we've been reading a lot about is the schools of hope.
It's such a misnomer.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's that all about?
Oh my God. So this is another privatization scheme pushed by the Republican majority and of course their donors, because let's be clear, there's so much money in privatizing our public education systems from different actors, even nonprofit charter schools, many of which who do wonderful work. And I don't want to ever, draw these like broad streaks, but a lot of them do work with for-profit companies like academia and others who heavily lobby the legislature on these issues. This example actually comes from a major DeSantis donor named Ken Griffin, who has given millions of dollars to Republican operatives and campaigns. And he actually just moved to Florida. He's a hedge fund guy. And so he is personally invested in this concept called Schools of Hope, which basically allows for there to be a takeover of traditional public schools into charter schools. And at first, it was very restricted in Florida of where this could happen. It would have to be, quote, failing schools. And so it was, I think before this bill passed, there were only 51 schools in the entire state of Florida that qualified to go through this transition. And what this bill does, not only does it dramatically expand the prerequisite to be, quote, a schools of hope, i.e. for a public school to switch, including schools who are located in opportunity zones, which means they could be of any grade. Right. They could be a successful school in an opportunity zone and still have this conversion. But the bill also allows, it literally requires that a school for hope could open up inside a public school that has vacancies.
Oh my God.
And it's vacancies as determined by the state.
Correct. And we all know that these vacancies are also happening because of privatization, because you have the voucher system that is pulling kids out of our traditional public schools. This is leading to less enrollment in schools that were built to sustain the growth of an area. Now that students are getting pulled out, there are going to be potential classrooms that are empty, or a facility that was once utilized, it isn't utilized much as it was. And to your point, even if a school tried to reinvent those spaces, the state can come in and say, oh no, we think this space is actually vacant. So we're going to allow a charter school to open up inside your school. So now you have two different operations in the same building. And I made this point on the House floor where, once you were destroying public education on the outside, now you're literally doing it from the inside.
Yeah.
Like a rotten apple core. I mean, it's really frustrating.
Yeah. And I have questions. I mean, do they pay for that space? Do they help pay for security? Do they help to pay some of the overhead costs?
100%.
What happens about discipline? What about people coming in and out of the school?
100%.
Yeah.
No clarity whatsoever. And we actually spent hours on this because this issue, we thought, well, we hoped it was dead, but I kind of knew it was going to come back. But we killed this during the regular session, but then it came up during budget conferencing and the implementing bill. So we all knew it was going to rear its ugly head in some degree, but we spent hours debating it prior to the budget conversation as it was a standalone bill before, and they snuck it into one of the educational conforming bill. So it's incredibly frustrating and really important for families to speak out against it, to also support traditional public schools.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, if you care about your local community, if you care about even if you don't have children in the school district, there's so many benefits of having strong public schools. It's the pipeline for the next generation of nurses and doctors and engineers and top talent in our community.
Yep.
It helps reduce criminality by breaking the cycle of poverty and keeping kids in a place of success and health versus go towards other directions, other means. So there's so many benefits to good, strong public schools that everyone should be an advocate, even if you're not directly in the sense of having kids that go to that school.
Are you an advocate, Eddie?
I'm absolutely an advocate. My partner works for OCPS, so I'm very
Well,
involved.
I work for the people.
Yeah, let's be clear.
You work for
let's
the people.
Be clear.
That's very clear. Thank you for that correction.
We're happy to do it.
Appreciate it. You were talking about your voice and being unafraid to use it. One of the things I think a lot of people, myself included, love about you is you use your platform really well. And I mean both like figuratively, but also literally, Instagram, etc. How do you think, because one thing Steph and I talk a lot about is like getting attention and being, if you're going to do stuff, like people have to see it and people have to know about it. How do you think about that as someone who, I say this in the most admirable way possible, as a prolific poster? Like, how do you think, how do you think about getting attention for your causes or for your work?
You know what's ironic is that if I wasn't an elected official, I don't think I would really be online because it really is a tough environment to operate in. And I'm so envious. Like my twin sister, she is off Facebook now. She really limits her use of Instagram. She has like a friends only list. You know, I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I'll have folks who will even ask me, hey, what's your personal Instagram? And I'm like, I literally don't have one. Like I used to have one. I stopped using it like 6 years ago because it was just too much for me. Right. It's just too much. And so like I just, all the platforms that I have are for public use and public consumption, and then they're mission driven. And so with that said, there are some folks out there that always ask, how do we have such a huge following? And that's modest because there are other politicians that have so much more, you know,
you have a great
following. Well, part of it though is that like we're willing to take a position even on tough topics. And I think this is where we contrast with other politicians. And I won't name folks out of respect, but you know, I'll talk to a colleague about an issue that I'm grappling with, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this. And their response will be, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't even touch it. And I understand like the instinct to avoid confrontation. And by the way, growing up, I absolutely never wanted to get in trouble. and for me as a young immigrant kid, what that meant was like, keep your head down, don't speak out, don't even ask for help, just figure it out on your own. Like, I mean, I was really programmed and trained as a kid to just focus on, you know, working hard, but don't get attention. Don't be confrontational. Don't create conflict. And here I am at a job where I'm like surrounded by conflict and confrontation all the time. And so it's not in my nature to be that way. Like I have this inhibition where I'm kind of like, ooh, you know, like, ugh, like should I not? But there's also this quote, and I wish I knew who I could credit it to, but it reads, when you're most afraid to speak is when you must speak. And I really just kind of embrace this mentality that when I am grappling with something, that means I have to say something, right? And immigration as an example, I have never been afraid to talk about immigration. And I've never shied away from a debate about immigration. I have championed this topic. And part of it is because I know that, back to the Overton window, culture change matters. So if I cede the conversation of immigration to the right, that's going to be the only messaging you hear. Yeah. And it's going to become the only messaging you know. So you can't do that, right? And so I've always stood up for our immigrant community members, and regardless of the administration, even on the Biden administration, I opposed Biden on so many of his immigration policies because I felt they were the same as Trump's. They weren't no solutions, nothing was different. People were still being detained, deported, and no path forward for citizenship. And so to the heart of your question, like I think a part of it is you have to be willing to take a stance. Even if there are people who will not appreciate your position or are going to have feedback for you, take in that feedback, process it. You'll only get sincerity from me, right? And I think a part of it is being willing to take that chance. And so much of the growth, like, you know, I look at our trends, right? And the growth that we'll have on social media is often driven by taking a stance on something. So for example, recently, we hosted a press conference outside the Orlando ICE office. Many folks joined us, and our school members were unfortunately, I think, out of town that weekend. But we had, you know, other elected officials who were willing to stand in opposition to what ICE is doing in our community, which is separating families. And I posted the video of our remarks with I'm a daughter of a mom and dad who have now since been both detained and deported to Guatemala, leaving behind these sweet boys who don't have parents anymore in Apopka. And we stood outside the ICE office together in opposition to what just took place. And so when I posted that video, I saw our followers increase because we're attracting people that appreciate what we're doing, or at the very least are interested in it. And then we can continue to inform you, right?
Like tell the story how we want to tell the story.
100%. And how you want to get involved. And also the number of people who tell me like I am a news source for them, I do not take for granted. And actually I'm already thinking through, because obviously I am running for mayor of Orlando in 2027. And so like my professional focus is already shifting, will have to shift towards municipality issues, which intersect with state issues and federal issues, obviously. But I know that I'm going to have to really commit my time, right, to solving some of these local challenges and crises, because that's what I'm running for. But I also want to maintain like our efficacy for the public on statewide issues. I'm thinking through like, how do I maintain that Honor for Florida platform? Because I really want to make sure that it's still there for people who need it. Because I'm a news junkie. I'm siphoning through multiple PR articles every day. Like I'm reading my daily source of news. And so I want to continue to do that for our community. And so I am already kind of thinking, how do I manage that in the future?
So many, just thinking through like so many heavy topics that come across your way, whether it's state, federal, how it's impacting us locally, and you really are in there in the weeds with every person. I mean, you are there holding their hand, wiping their tears, and then speaking, helping them use their voice and speaking out on their behalf too. So I have to ask, like, what do you do for comfort? Like, how do you take time for yourself? And I know you don't have a lot of time, but is there, for me, like when I'm feeling stressed, I go straight to Thai house and I get 47 with either chicken or tofu and white rice. And like, that's just my comfort. Like, what, do you have something like that? Do you have a thing you do or a food you eat or a song you listen to?
It's a really great question. I'm actually trying to develop more of a routine in my life, which I don't have one yet. Like that's one of my biggest challenges is my life is so chaotic. Like if you were to ask, like, what's the daily life of a city representative? I'm like, I don't even know, because every day is different. I mean, it is quite chaotic. And that means, when I want to go exercise, I often don't have the time. Or if I want to make myself a iced coffee in the morning or grab something to eat, I don't always make that possible. So I am trying to get more into a routine. I'm also trying to integrate just more like physical fitness into my life. I mean, that I used to be a runner like back in the day.
Oh.
And I would love to get back into it. And so I recently got one of those walking pads for the house and like one of those standing desks. I haven't set it up yet. It's just like in boxes right now waiting for me. But I really, for calls and stuff, like I want to be more like integrating exercise in my daily routine. Because I just think as a busy person, a busy woman, for many busy women, we have to find ways to do that. Also, like friendships, right? Like I want to find more ways to like spend time with people that I care about while also accomplishing another task. Like for example, instead of always doing like a coffee meeting, let's go for a walk. Let's do like a walking meeting. You got to run some errands or pick up kids. Let me pick up the kids with you. Like just trying to find ways to like integrate. Like I
love that.
Hung out with one of my girlfriends at her son's lacrosse game in Winter Park, because I'm just like, we got to catch up. Your son's playing lacrosse. Let's go cheer him on and catch up, right? So I'm just trying to think of ways to like have those moments with people you care about while also being respectful that everybody has all these commitments. And so I will say guilty pleasure food-wise is probably vegan sushi. Like just like the saltiness and the rice. Like I can't tell you how many times this week I've like run into Sprout real quick to pick up one of their like pre-made sushi rolls and just like eat that in the car. Like that's definitely one of my guilty pleasures for sure. I also watch, and don't make fun of me, but I watch like a lot of reruns of Sex and the City.
I love it. So good.
My sister and I have memorized like every episode, every line. We've seen them so many times. Yes, Yes, I know some of the episodes were problematic. Okay. Yes.
Everything's
Like, I
problematic.
know it doesn't reflect the diversity of our country. I know that these women cannot afford to live the lives that they afford. But either way,
So good, though.
it's my thing,
Yep,
and let
yep.
it go, right? But like, I will have it on in the background while I'm working on stuff. It's almost like I'm listening to, you know, a podcast or something, or music.
Yeah.
But that absolutely is one of my guilty pleasures, and it keeps me awake. Like, I'll put it on when I'm working late, and just gives me a little nostalgia, and just kind of like a, you know, a space where I feel less alone.
Yes.
LOL.
Like friends.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I am watching the reboot, and yes, it's terrible, but I'm like hate watching it. I'm here for it.
I know.
I'm so here for it.
I admit to have watched it. I watch it too. Love the show. It's funny you say that about running. So first of all, if you ever need a running partner, just let me know. We can do it.
Thank you. You're going to go very slow for me.
But well, I have to say, you are like, I don't even like, you're like the sexiest runner ever. Cause I swear I was running around.
Well, this podcast took a turn.
No, this was a couple years ago. It was
So
running
funny.
around Lake Yule, and I'm like, who is that person? Her hair is like it's like flowing behind her. I mean, for me, I wake up, my hair's like pulled back in a ponytail, like hat on, like, you know, just
Well,
like.
I don't know if I do that
and
anymore.
here she is. She's got like her hair's like flowing, and she looks like she's like having the best time, like running around the lake. And I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like that.
Okay.
Is Anna.
Now you're making me
I'm
like want to go
dang.
run. So thank you. Maybe I'll do that tonight. Let my hair flow.
I
Go
love
for a
it.
run around the lake.
I love
This
it.
is inspiring. Thank
love
you.
it.
I
Steph,
love
how
it.
would you describe seeing me run? So listeners, I just
Exhausting.
want to describe Steph's deer in headlights face. No, you're an incredibly supportive running partner, and I appreciate you when we've gone running. So thank you.
Well, we got to get the knees to work again.
Yeah.
It needs to work.
Yeah.
So one reason why that I also am hesitant to work out outside is I'm really bad at talking while running. And like, kudos to those who can do it, but I'm always gonna run into someone who is a runner who can talk and they want to talk to me. And I'm just like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Tallahassee's hard, you know? And I'm just like, oh my God, like, how do people do this? Like, I'm really struggling. And so it's hard because I know it's gonna happen to me. And so I just feel like I do have a Peloton account. Like, I do the body weight exercises and stuff. Actually, recently, not to go too off topic, but I visited a small business in Winter Park that does like these workouts, these 20-minute workouts with like the muscle stimulants. And like, so they like hook you up, and apparently like they use this technology where when you work out, they like your muscles will work out more, like harder than you're actually working out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called Body Street. And so I signed up for a class.
Like, I need efficiency here.
I
Okay.
know. I mean, 20-minute workout where like you're gonna feel like you worked out longer. I'm like, yes, please sign me up. And it's really funny because I run into so many other friends who already do this, and they're like, I promise you, it's not a hoax. It's amazing. You're gonna love it. And I'm like super stoked. 'Cause I'm like, this sounds great. Like 20 minutes in and out. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Yeah, I will let you know how it goes. But
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Good stuff.
I do have an extra slot if you're interested.
I'm interested.
That was so quick.
Because today I intended to go to the Y. It just like didn't happen. So
I won't say the details because it's a boutique environment in the sense that, and actually it's very big in Germany. So like, I know now this has changed like a workout podcast, but like for busy women. But so it's very big in Germany. This company, this technology, the owners are actually German. So they opened up their first ever, franchise in Winter Park, Florida. Now they have like 2 locations around Orange County. But it's cool because it's only 2 people work out at a time. So it's like very intimate. Like if you're someone who's like intimidated by the gym, maybe you feel insecure in your body, like whatever it is, it's like a safer space.
Okay.
And yeah, it's 20 minutes. So I made a reservation for 2, but my sister's out of town. So you're signed up.
I'm in.
You're signed up, Stephanie. Let's go.
Do they put like electrodes on you?
They do, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
so you wear like this whole
so
bodysuit, and then they hook you up to this machine, and there's there's a formula workouts that you do because you are still working out.
Yeah.
Basically a body weight exercise.
Okay.
But then apparently I think it was like reps versus like 1 or something. So so when you're done, like you feel like you had a much more intensive workout than you actually had. And they told me that you only have to do, I am not being paid by this company. I want to be clear. This is not a sponsorship for the podcast. Like I haven't even done it yet.
They can reach out if they'd like.
If you are interested.
I haven't done it yet, but while I was there, like friends walked in for their workout. And so I got to be there while they did it. And so like, yeah, I'm really excited to try it out. I'm like, I need something. I need something, guys. I just
well, good. It is important. I feel like as much as you are everywhere all the time, and everyone comments on that, and you are truly the person. I think it is important, and I think everyone should have this message too. That is important to take care of yourself.
100%. Yes. So. I mean, you want to be there for others, and you can't do that if you're not prioritizing your own health. Yeah. And to that point, I did just make a therapy appointment. And it's been like 6 months.
I just had mine this week.
Nice.
After about 6 months too.
Yep. So, yes. Yep. And I ran into my therapist at a community event, and because of HIPAA, she's so good. Like she's definitely looking at me, but like not saying anything to me until I see her and I approach her. And so I was like, oh my God, I have to make an appointment. It's been like basically the entire year I haven't had an appointment. So I'm looking forward to that too. And just, because there's a lot. The world's on fire right now, and we're all moving very, very fast. I'm protecting our communities, doing what we can with what we got. But your core, you protect your core and your brain and your heart, all of that's like very, very important too.
Yeah. And I just want to take just a quick question to go off of that is, I feel like every strong leader, there's strong people behind them that are not in the limelight. They're not always in the spotlight. But they're doing work that really make you shine and able to shine. And I mean, you shine on your own, but there are, and I know you mentioned your sister Ida as one of those people. But is there, anyone else who you just want to give a shout out to, who's like been there from the beginning and is just kind of like there to support you and gets you and helps you?
For sure, for sure. I mean, I'm so blessed to have such an incredible chosen family. As a kid of immigrants, like most of my family isn't here, right? Like I don't really have a family support system that's hyper local. Like I have my dad still lives in Orlando, but he's still working, so he travels for work, so he's not really that local. My uncle lives in Avalon Park, but he's super busy himself, and he works at the post office. I have my aunt, my uncle, my 2 cousins in Lakeland, and a lot of family in South Florida, but like no one that's really like super close, right? Like if I need help picking something up or running an errand, like it's my friends who are doing it. Like if I need someone to help watch my cats, right now all my cats have passed away, but cats that are like, I could lean on friends to do that. And so I know my heart, but we will adopt more when we're ready. My sister and I are trying to figure it out, but we definitely are grieving cat moms right now. But with that said, some of the people in my life that have had such a huge impact and continue to be a part of that core team include Cheyenne, Shala. These are 2 amazing women that I met in this work. And like we've just become best friends. And also like they're amazing what they do. Like they became my campaign managers at different times. And like they're just continuously helping other candidates and working in politics, doing such great work. I take a lot of pride in the team on a pipeline because we do have amazing interns and staffers that come up in the ranks and go do awesome things, whether in a different profession or directly in politics. I mean, I almost every state house representative that's a Democrat in Orange County has staff that came from the Team on a pipeline. So it's just really,
I've seen them. They kind of move.
It's really cool to see. Yeah. And so obviously my twin sister, my big brother, and my sister-in-law, Melanie, we have a text thread together called Eskamani. So we're always just talking about what's going on and stuff, and very, very close. There's a lot of great people that are part of that network that I'm just internally grateful for. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and our staff. I mean, our people might not know this, but like I manage a lot every day because I have my legislative office, People Power for Florida, which is an organization that I started and I serve as executive director of. And then, of course, our campaign, and now my day job. And so in all those capacities, like you're constantly interacting with really passionate people, whether you're managing them or working peer to peer. so really grateful for everyone who commits to this work because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not. And you have built a great team. And so thank you. I have benefited from the people that you've trained, and they've helped me, and just wonderful people.
So one thing I wanted to ask about, move on to your candidacy for mayor. So we were at your kickoff event. It was incredible. So much energy, so many people there. And so many heartfelt things said about you and the excitement for your candidacy. You've got some time ahead of you. And one of the things I was asking you actually before we started recording is whether you'd been watching at all the New York City mayor's race, because I've been watching and seeing this battle between Cuomo and Mondami and seeing, kind of at the last minute, all these big moneyed interests who are like, who see someone who speaks out against corporations. And I'm not saying Mondami is a perfect candidate, whatever, but you can see the powers that be coalesce to stop someone who they think is against your powers. And so I'm curious if you see any of that and you're thinking about your own race.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And not just that, but I think this is a fight happening across the Democratic Party in general. And it's so important to call it out. We need a new Democratic Party that is people-centric, that is willing to challenge large corporations, that is willing to take risk, willing to fight back, to do the work, not just lean on consultants, somewhere in DC or Tallahassee, but to be on the ground, knocking on doors, putting yourself in places that you've never been before. And that is how we will win back seats. That's how we will take our party back and actually be relevant in today's politics. I think what's so frustrating about what's happening in New York is that's happening everywhere. I mean, it just creates a party that's no longer relevant. Like, it creates a party that when people are asked what's the difference between the two, they can't even answer the question. And I don't blame them, honestly. And so, I think it's really, like, when I hear folks say choosing the lesser evils, when they're voting, that pains me because it shouldn't be that way. And yet I really can't blame people who feel that way. I don't. And so absolutely, we're preparing for that. Without a doubt, we're preparing for that. That's exactly what I'm expecting, honestly. But that's why we're working so hard so early. It's so funny. I felt like maybe it would be awkward to go to the doors this early, but not only has it been awesome because we're helping to support other candidates while we do it that have more urgent elections. So it gives us a chance to be an asset to others, also lift up our mission, our vision, our work. But a lot of folks have told me, like, I got there early. That's what Trump did, which, again, that's probably the only comparison anyone will ever say with me and Trump. But the whole thought is, like, get out there early, do the work, raise the money, and just stay focused. And so really, really grateful for everyone that is committed to us so early. I mean, only have we raised, I was not able to raise money during session, but before session started, we raised more than $425,000.
Wow.
And my first day out of session, we raised more than 35.
Wow.
And so it's been great momentum on that front. But then the folks who are requesting yard signs and wearing T-shirts, and it's just so much fun. And I think that's a part of it too, is like, got to give people something to be optimistic about, right? Got to give them something to be for, not always against. And I do my best to model the type of mayor that I will be through how I lead as a state representative. And the idea of just having staff, like having teams. We already get so much done right now with a legislative staff of 2.5. Like, imagine what we can get done with an executive branch. Like, I geek out on that. I think it's so exciting to think about the leadership team we can have and the focus we can lead with and the problems we can solve. If I had time, I would be downtown every day, not just working with our small businesses, but working with our unhoused community to get them resources. Unfortunately, I just right now I don't have that kind of capacity. But if I was mayor, I would be able to be on the ground, at night with the Hope team to figure things out and get someone to a place of care and respite. And so I'm really excited about it. And I of course, a lot of work to do before now and then. A lot can change between now and then in this country and in this world. But I'm very, very committed to leading this community, and I'm excited about the opportunities that are ahead.
Well, if there's one piece of my audio that makes it into this podcast,
we're rooting for you.
It's that we're rooting for you.
That's so
we're
funny.
very excited.
Oh, I was rooting for you too, for it to make it in to the podcast. But I'm also rooting for Anna because.
Well, I will say now that Eddie's made that point, Eddie, I'm glad you're here. I'm so happy you're part of this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, your absence will be felt for sure.
I appreciate that. Well, it's an honor to be on a podcast with you, Steph, and an honor to have you on our podcast.
Thank you.
And know that you are welcome anytime you want to talk about legislative things, mayoral things, talk about restaurants or exercise routines. Always welcome to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being
Y'all
here.
the best. Keep on keeping on.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.